everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Cronkite File. No need to go to multiple different news sources to get your weather, news, politics, sports, and entertainment fix in. We've got you covered. This is the Cronkite File. It's Tuesday, at the beginning of a new week, and a day couldn't be worse than waking up in the morning and not knowing what weather to dress for. Well, friends, we here at the Cronkite File are not about to let that happen. Having that said, here's Carly Doyle with the weather.
Hey guys, this week in Phoenix is looking pretty nice. Today we're experiencing a bit of wind with a high of 83, low of 54, and a high of 79 tomorrow with a low of 51. These are going to be our coolest temperatures of the week, and by Friday we're going to be relaxing in the high 80s with lows in the high 50s come nighttime. It's definitely the prime time to get your tan on before it gets too hot. Now, looking at Arizona as a whole, we will see Flagstaff at 55, Prescott at 60, Havasu near 79, Phoenix keeping it warm at 82, Yuma near 81, and Tucson at 80. For national weather, Phoenix, again at 83, is definitely one of the warmer places this time of year. Seattle is experiencing a bit of spring rains and a high of 55. New York is a little bit chillier than that at 54, and Chicago is getting up there, coming in at 61 degrees today. For us warmer weather folks, LA is going to be around 67 today, and Miami is going to be 76. Not quite bikini weather there yet, but summer is coming. That's it for this week's weather. I'm Carly Doyle. Back to you, Colette.
Thanks, Carly. Thank goodness it's starting to warm up here in Arizona. This winter was quite concerning with the weather being borderline cold. It just wasn't the typical desert winter we natives are all used to. Moving on to another unusual topic, they don't call it March Madness for no reason. And this year, that title does not just fit in with basketball. The NFL draft has also been having a little bit of March Madness themselves. Here's Anthony Luna with more.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And if you've been making brackets year in and year out for March Madness, then you're probably insane. This year's tournament has come hot out the stove, seeming with upsets galore. And in the first round alone, we saw 13 teams beat their higher seeded matchups, with 10 of the 32 squads in the second round being double-digit seeds. Now, there are definitely no more perfect brackets left, as we know, but highlighting was the fall of Michigan State's Spartans, walking out of the tourney in their first game when they lost 90-81 against Middle Tennessee. In the days following, Kentucky exited the dance when it came time to face Indiana. But on a sharp note, the Gonzaga Bulldogs ripped 3-seeded Utah apart like a pair of old leather boots, 82-59. And there's still plenty more to come, though, with several Cinderellas leaping about the tourney as we approach the Elite Eight. And also circulating the news has been the NFL offseason frenzy. Local team, the Arizona Cardinals, traded their guard Jonathan Cooper and a second-round pick for New England's defensive end Chandler Jones. Joining him in Glendale will also be running back Chris Johnson, who played for Arizona last year up until an injury sidelined him. And after departing the LA Rams, which is very weird to say, Chris Long agreed to join the Patriots, replacing the vacancy at end for them. But another big-time headline was the self-imposed hiatus of 29-year-old defensive tackle B.J. Raji. He wouldn't rule out a return to the NFL in the future, but the 2016 season is not in the books for the former Boston College defenseman. And last but not least, DeMarco Murray has packed his bags again, heading south, this time to the Titans. Murray was traded for a fourth-round pick, with the Titans also receiving the Eagles' fourth-rounder with the running back as well. Murray is hoping to be the Luigi to Super Mariota.
Thanks, guys. Now it's time for the Cronkite File 100. We'll be discussing Arizona sports in 100 seconds. Now, Brad, the ASC women's basketball team was knocked out a little bit early from the tournament. Tell me what happened over there in Tempe.
Well, they were the number 2 seed coming into the tournament, their highest seed in program history. They cruised against New Mexico State, but then they took the 7th seed, Tennessee Volunteers, actually the worst seed ever in program history for them. But they came out strong. ASU could never really get anything down offensively, going 0 for 3 to start the game inside the paint. Couldn't get anything inside, especially with the 6'6" center of the Tennessee Volunteers, but they played to Tennessee's high-tempo offense. And Diamond DeShield, she scored 24 points for the Tennessee Volunteers, and really, they could never recuperate, especially being out-rebounded 33-30.
Yeah, definitely. So we are outside of Talking Stick Resort Arena here in downtown Phoenix, home of the Phoenix Suns. So about the Phoenix Suns, how have they been doing so far?
Well, they just beat the Los Angeles Lakers at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, 95-90. But then they'll take them on tomorrow night against the Lakers at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Really the battle for the number 1 overall pick as of the 2 worst teams in the Western Conference. Maybe Ben Simmons, who knows?
Yeah, you never know. Ben Simmons would be nice here in Phoenix. Great fit. Another team out in Glendale is the Arizona Coyotes, moving on to hockey. What are the Coyotes doing so far this season?
Well, they just beat the Edmonton Oilers 4-2. Really 10 points outside of a playoff spot, but really they played great hockey this season. Not going to make the playoffs, but it was definitely better than what people expected.
Well, time's up. So that was the Cronkite File 100 from Josiah Destin and Brad Sherman.
Back to the hard court, this time on the professional level. Anthony Davis has been shut down by the Pelicans just days after setting the franchise record for the most points in a game. He's set to undergo surgery on his shoulder and knee, a nagging problem in his 4-year career. Davis has never played more than 66 games in one season. And the NBA is looking into Dwight Howard and his hands. Yes, you heard that right, his hands. The center was caught with stickum on his fingers, just like a kid with his hand in the cookie jar. The substance enables a better grip for the ball, an advantage that's possibly illegal in the NBA. Howard said to Jonathan Fegan of the Houston Chronicle that he does it, quote, every game, end quote. With the Rockets' Swiss cheese defense, some may not blame Howard, but the NBA might not feel the same. And that's all the headlines for you this week around the sports world. I'm Anthony Luna.
Thank you as always, Anthony. Not only are we now transitioning into bridal season, we are also transitioning into music festival season. Obviously, I'm no expert, so let's pass it off to some people who are.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Entertainment Report. I'm Jade Hansen. Russell Wilson didn't get a ring this year, but Ciara did. The power couple finally tied the knot earlier this month, sharing videos and photos on Instagram after the big question was finally popped. Ciara showed off her huge and beautiful ring in the post, looking happier than ever with her new fiancé. No date is set yet, but we'll all be eagerly waiting for what will definitely be one stunning wedding. Music festivals have begun across the country, both nationally and locally. Last week, Austin, Texas had its South by Southwest Music Festival, which is always a huge event for music lovers, as both major and local artists come out to put on the show. Big names like Drake, Charlie XCX, and 2 Chainz hit the stage in the Lone Star State. Now locally, here in Phoenix, they put on a show of their own, the Pot of Gold Festival. On Thursday, artists like Ty Dolla $ign, Atmosphere, and Slightly Stupid graced the stage, and Future closed the show with an incredible performance. On Saturday, it was day 2 of Pot of Gold as Ray Shremmerd and Earl Sweatshirt came out to perform before, and Big Sean capped it off to close the night. Back to you, Colette.
Thank you both. The state of Arizona has been quite busy lately, hosting different political rallies, including presidential candidates such as Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. And do you know who I'm sure knows everything about them? Austin Bundy, our politics reporter. What do you have for us today, Austin?
Well, Colette, the NCAA tournament is in full swing this week, and we've got our own March Madness in politics. We're essentially down to the final 5 in the presidential election, with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton still in a pretty tight race for the Democratic nomination. And the Cinderella story has practically flipped on the Republican side. The outsider Donald Trump has held a commanding lead across the country for several months, while the remaining establishment candidates, Texas Senator Ted Cruz and Ohio Governor John Kasich, continue to trail behind. Cruz, Trump, Sanders, and Clinton held rallies in Arizona this past weekend, gathering thousands of supporters and protesters. So much so that some protesters blocked traffic in Fountain Hills at a Trump rally for miles. Protests against Trump also took place in New York City on the same day, resulting in 6 arrests overall. And don't forget to go vote today if you are a resident of Arizona, Idaho, or Utah. Polls closed at 7 p.m. here in the Grand Canyon state, as this is a winner-take-all state for the GOP in terms of delegates. The Idaho caucus is only open to registered Democrats today, as the Republicans held their caucus on March 8th, resulting in a Ted Cruz victory. Meanwhile, President Barack Obama announced his nominee to replace Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia last Wednesday, naming Merrick Garland, a federal appeals court judge for the Washington, D.C. circuit. Despite being known as a moderate, Garland and Obama are still facing stiff opposition from Republican leadership in the Senate, who still firmly believe the vacancy should be filled after this election cycle. And while we were on spring break, former First Lady Nancy Reagan passed away. The beloved wife of the late President Ronald Reagan was 94 years old when she died of congestive heart failure in her Los Angeles home on March 6th. Her funeral took place on March 11th, where she was laid to rest next to her husband at his presidential library in Simi Valley, California. That's the way it is on both sides of the aisle. Back to you, Colette.
Thanks, Austin. This week, to close out the show, we've decided to give our newest member her time to shine as she takes us through world and national news, and ends with a heartwarming story that she herself got to experience firsthand. Here's Lillian Donahue with the news. Terror attacked Belgium this morning. In our top story today, more than 30 people are believed to be dead and over 100 wounded after attacks in Brussels International Airport and the city metro station. The Islamic State was said to be behind the attack in a statement on the Islamic State Amaq agency. 2 explosions rocked the Brussels airport around 7 this morning, reportedly killing 11 people. An hour later, the bomb ignited in the capital's metro station, leaving about 20 dead. A photograph released by federal prosecutors shows the suspected suicide bombers. Police are still trying to apprehend the man on the far right, who is thought to have fled the scene. Also in Brussels, a 4-month search is finally over after authorities captured the Paris terror attack suspect Salah Abdeslam late Friday afternoon. Pegged as the most wanted man in Europe, Abdeslam is believed to be the only surviving participant from the November 13 attacks. Authorities captured him in the neighborhood where he grew up after finding his fingerprints in 2 nearby apartments. And across the Atlantic, President Obama and his family arrived in Cuba on Sunday in a historic visit to the country after decades of estrangement between the United States and Cuba. Obama is using the trip as a key proponent in the rehabilitation of relations between the 2 countries. He plans on meeting with Raul Castro at a state dinner to discuss trade. And back in the United States, Mr. President and the First Lady, of birds that is, welcomed 2 new bald eagle babies into the high-flying family. The baby birds hatched at the National Arboretum in Washington, D.C. earlier this weekend. According to the American Eagle Foundation, it was the first time since 1947 that a bald eagle made a nest in that location. The birds were temporarily named DC-2 and DC-3. Earlier this month, Grand Canyon University, right here in Phoenix, held its annual Run to Fight Cancer, 5K, 10K, and Survivors Walk. I was able to walk along with the students, parents, and survivors as the community came together to raise awareness for children's cancer. Take a look.
So today we showed what we've got and we brought it all together. We have a committee of about 12 to 15 people that spend their time planning this event and working with vendors and sponsors and the children's cancer community. And this is the day that we get to really enjoy all of our efforts. Ultimately, it's going to lead to donation to Phoenix Children's Hospital and Children's Cancer Network.
The whole race is just GCU's way of giving back to our community and raising awareness for children's cancer and doing the most we can to help the families who are going through it.
It's irreplaceable. I mean, you're part of a community, whether or not you're connected to it personally, you become a part of that community, and we have the good fortune through our honorary race starter, Emma Kerr.
Hello everybody, let's get everybody in the picture.
She's lovely, and she's the 6th of our race starters, and what they fight it like a kid. And they are displaying their superhero powers, and in that they are inspiring and helping the adults around them, their caregivers, their family, their friend, their community to understand that it is, the word cancer is a scary word, but life has to be celebrated, life has to be lived, and that's what we do here.
Well, everyone, that is all the time we have for you this week. As always, we hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next week. For more on the Cronkite File, visit our website, cronkitefile.net, for articles and more. Once again, my name is Colette Stein, and this has been the Cronkite File.